Meditation has been discovered all around the world over history as a fundamental tool to help us be able to relax, to understand ourselves and the world, to enjoy life. And it's been discovered all around the world because it is the fundamental response to the fundamental challenge of being human, which is that we hurt and we suffer and we lose people, we get anxious, depressed. And I invite you to adventure with me deep into meditation to see if this tool can support us in our lives. My journey started in anxiety and pain. I had just finished education, didn't know who I was or what I was doing with my life, and a new character began to dominate my headspace, who I personified as a troubled wizard called the Underminer. He would say, "Hey, George, still single, not many friends. You must be flawed goods. Oh, and now you're anxious. You're weak for being anxious. You're pathetic." So that was my headspace. And I didn't really know how to relate to that voice, but all I knew that I was hurting, I was in pain. Wanting to find peace, I thought Kung Fu might make me a stronger man, whatever that means, and I journeyed to China, tried to get into a monastery. I failed. I then asked the locals to take me to a Kung Fu school, and they ended up taking me to a Tai Chi school. In my ignorance, I thought Tai Chi, that's for older people, but I tried it and fell in love with it. I found meditation, and I found Taoism, the philosophy of the mountain. And my headspace began to transform, how I understood myself began to transform. Since these ancient practices could help me, some British guy, thousands of years later, that says to me two interesting things. One, firstly, is that it is human to hurt. That I would beat myself up for being anxious. I shouldn't feel this way. I'm uniquely messed up. And yes, there's big challenges that we're facing today as modern people living in the 21st century. But humans have always hurt. And that's why these practices have developed. And so I really want to welcome you on this journey wherever you are. If you're in flow, if you're feeling good, or if you're in a challenge, if you're feeling stuck as well, you're welcome. Because as we're going to explore, really this journey is to embrace our whole selves, to meet ourselves with kindness. Secondly, that if these ancient ideas can help you and I in the modern world, that suggests that they are actually speaking to something fundamental about being human. That really we are on a journey to understand our nature. You know, how does the heart work? How does the mind work? How do emotions and feelings work? And meditation is this tool to help us gain clarity over who we really are, how we really work, so that then we can show up in our lives with more skill, ease, flow, and freedom. I've been sharing what I've been learning, making films and videos over the last 7 years, and I've been really touched and privileged that literally thousands of people have joined me for the adventure. I've taught the power of breath in hospitals, community centers, retreats, and online with many of you across the world. And I'm really passionate about, and I've created now a 19-person team about sharing these ideas that balance is possible for you and I and for humanity. And I'm not a guru, I'm not a master, I am a wayfinder. I'm on my way of life, you're on your way, and I hope what I have learned can serve you on your journey. And then yes, we brought a flip chart out into the forest. So session one, we're going to talk about our potential. It's like, why even bother meditating? What is possible for us in our lives? Why does it matter? So that's what we're going to start with. Session two, we're going to learn how to rest. You know, in our highly agitated modern world, it's really important that we learn how to rest, and it's possible through the training of meditation to learn how to relax in the here and now. Session three is the mind, and that's my little brain. My nan says I might be the next Picasso. You decide if that's going to be true or not. Session four, we are going to talk about the fundamental 3 steps to mindfulness. Once we've really understood how to rest, how our mind works, then we can break everything down into 3 simple steps. Then we're going to move on in session 5 to the world. Meditation can not only help you understand yourself, but also the world and where you came from. And we're going to explore that. Then we're going to see, well, how does this new understanding of ourselves and the world help us take action? How do we show up in the world? How do we find meaning and purpose in this modern life? Like, what do we do with our energy? Then we're going to talk about resilience. And this is super important. Resilience is the ability to bounce back. And so life is full of challenge, right? And we will be hit. And so then how do we return back to balance and to bounce back? And then we're going to talk about practice and how to make practice effortless. And we're going to explore the MMA framework, where no longer is MMA just an idea of fighting, but instead it's the tools of a peaceful warrior, how you can effortlessly practice every day in a really simple way, because daily practice is the key, and we'll explore how to make that really easy. Now there's a lot, like understanding ourselves and the world, and then showing up with action and resilience. You think meditation can really do all of that? I hear you cry. Well, you're gonna have to come an adventure to find out. So I'd love for you to save this video in your watch later or your favorites. Maybe even you could stick it in your bookmark bar so you can refer back to it. And there's time codes, so you can skip if you would like to go to different sessions if they resonate with you. Although I'd say if you'd like to, joining for the full flow, no matter if you're a beginner just starting meditation or you've been exploring it for a while, I hope my interpretation and synthesis can serve you and provide some new ideas and clarity for you to support you in your life. So balance is possible, peace is possible. Let's explore together how that could be the case. And let's begin our first session. All right, so for session one, we are exploring our potential. Like, why are we here? Why even bother meditating? What can it do for us in our lives? Before we get there, it would be good just to explore some meditation myths, some things that maybe we might think about that means that we get in our own way, so we don't actually commit to a meditation practice, so we don't get the benefits. And I'll speak for myself. When I started my journey, I was in China, and I remember meditating on a rock with Master Gu. And I was supposed to be meditating, but what I was doing was fantasizing about the lovely tofu rice meal I'd be having at the end of the day. And I would then beat myself up like, come on, George, you've been meditating for 3 months now. Why don't you have a perfectly quiet mind? So if you ever think that meditation is about having a quiet mind, that's not what it's about. You know, the brain thinks, the heart beats, the stomach digests. It's in its nature. And if meditation was about stopping thinking, it means we would be constantly in conflict with ourselves. So, you know, living in the modern world as well, we have busy minds, and for thousands of years, human beings have had busy minds. So meditation is not about stopping thinking and having a quiet mind. So don't worry if you sometimes think, I can't do meditation because I'm too busy. Not the case. Another reason why we may get in our own way is this idea that meditation is going to take way too long for me to get the benefits. I don't have the time to go out, you know, to China or to India to live as a monk. And, you know, getting away even for a small retreat, a weekend or something like that can be valuable. But what I'm really passionate about is the power of the meditation and the breath practices to support us in our everyday lives, in work, in the city, anywhere. So we'll see in our next practice in about 10 minutes how even just a minute of practice can be really transformative. All right, beautiful. So there are some myths that mean we get in our own way. Let's let them go and see what we can explore together. So let's come back to our potential. Why should we meditate? What's the point in doing it? And in fact, what's the point in learning anything to change ourselves? Is change even possible? Well, balance is possible, change is possible, peace is possible, because you are a human being, and human beings have an awesome potential. Now, obviously, we are not angels. We are born with challenging tendencies to divide into tribes, to judge other people, to judge ourselves, to choose short-term gain despite the long-term pain. And then we're born in a world of trauma, where families have been traumatized from war and injustice, and the parents pass on their trauma to the kids. And, you know, here we are thousands of years later in the midst of all of this challenge. And there is so much beauty that we are born into. Now, you and I, we have eyes that dazzle, a heart that beats, a mouth that can laugh and smile, a body that can dance and boogie. And you have a family and friends that, despite all of the pain, were created and are held together by love. So here we are in the midst of all the challenge and the beauty, and our potential is that we can find peace and balance in the midst of it all, because we have responsibility. the ability to choose our response. You might know the classic quote by Viktor Frankl: between the stimulus and the response, there is a space, and that space is our freedom and our power. So what we're really on an adventure to do is to build this space where, okay, you know, I'm anxious and people are reactive and angry with me, and okay, all this stimuli of life, it still happens. But where previously I'd either, you know, believe the anxious thought and collapse into it, or I'd be angry and reactive against my parents, then I find this space. And in this space, I can choose. And when I can choose, two awesome things happen. The first one being that we access our wisdom. You know, instead of just being reactive, we open up into space, we choose, and that means that we can choose a wiser response. For me, wisdom is when we see clearly and so then navigate life with skill. Another awesome thing happens when we have that space is that we find peace, right? Because peace, and this is something that maybe you want to write down, is peace equals non-resistance. Peace equals non-resistance. So peace isn't that, you know, challenging things don't happen. Parents can act in ways that maybe we wouldn't want them to, or we get anxious. You know, all of that still happens. But if we can find the ability to embrace that reality, you know, what is actually here, right now, thoughts and feelings, emotions, all of it, then in that moment of total acceptance of the present moment, of what's here, with no resistance, that's when we find peace. So peace equals non-resistance. Now, the challenge of being human is that we do resist, right? That, you know, when we get anxious, we don't want to be anxious. For me, you know, when I got into this time of anxiety and pain, I didn't want to be there. And then, you know, when we lose people, we don't want to lose people. So, you know, we resist the present moment. That's what we do as human beings. And so this is where this training comes in. It needs training. And this is meditation, the fundamental training to steady our awareness and to embrace the present moment. To steady our awareness and to embrace the present moment. So our awareness, you know, all these thoughts and feelings and emotions, all of these experiences that we have, they arise in our awareness. But the cool thing about our awareness is that we can direct it. So we don't always have to be ruminating on negative thinking. We don't always have to be lost in our sadness. There is the possibility that we can focus on different things. We can steady our awareness. And as we steady our awareness through the training of meditation, we find that we can more easily embrace, you know, what's actually happening for us right here, right now. So to hurt is to be human. Peace equals non-resistance. Practice is the path to peace. And meditation is the training of our awareness to steady so that we can embrace the present moment, including all of the challenge, including all the beauty. The peace that we're offered is not that nothing challenging happens again, but instead the ability to meet it all with some balance, some calm, and some ease. Now, what I'm really passionate about is that on our learning journeys together, that we explore ourselves and the world, not just through words and, you know, you listening to me in this video, but instead you learning about yourself through your own experience. So I would love to invite you to join me for our first practice. And this is only going to take a minute or two. And all we're going to do is take 5 breaths together. And then we can see for ourselves like what we're meaning by all of these words of steadying and awareness, etc. So if you'd like to join me, you can be sitting, you can be standing, you can be doing whatever. All we're going to do is take a pause and take 5 breaths together. So maybe closing the eyes, and let's try it. Breathing in and breathing out, softening your face. Breathing in, slow, kind, mindful breathing. Breathing out, releasing tension. Breathing in, softening your face, and breathing out. Breathing in, Feel your face sinking and softening. Breathing out. Breathing in, your awareness focusing on the air coming in through your nose and going out through your nose. Let's try one more. Breathing in and breathing out. And coming back into our space together. So welcoming all of your experiences there. If you felt maybe a bit more ease and felt a steadying of your awareness on your breath, you could focus on your breath. Or maybe, didn't really move anything in you at all. Or maybe you're breathing in and out through your mouth, which is fine as well. But maybe you had a glimpse of the potential that when we can rest our awareness, we can steady it through the act of meditation. The awesome thing about focusing on your breath is that you get a free meditation, right? You're steadying your awareness. And in that moment, you're not judging, how's my breath doing? Am I doing it well enough? As we slow the breath down, we slow down the mind, we slow down the heart. We find it easier to embrace the present moment. To have a moment in our lives of total acceptance of ourselves, including the challenge, can be an awakening experience to your potential. With meditation, we can have multiple of those sorts of experiences throughout the day. And you can see then how your life could change. If you have that energy of acceptance and embracing yourself, of non-resistance, including the bits of yourself that maybe you would want to change over time, then you finally get out your own way. You find a sense of ease in the present moment, in the midst of it all. And that is a powerful energy that can begin to transform your life. And if more of us move and act in that way, then the world begins to change too. And that is our potential. All right, so before we start our next session, which is about how we can rest and find some stillness in our everyday lives, I want to share an action that you could take. So there is a PDF workbook that you can print off and follow along. And really, I'd love for you to get clear and to reflect on, and pausing the video, as to what your intentions are to join this course. There's something that's brought you to this video, and there's maybe some challenge in your life that you want to break through. And so to get really clear on what you want to change, so that then this course can support you with those specific intentions. So have a look at that in the workbook. And one action for practice to take away is these 5 breaths. These 5 breaths. One of my mantras, as you'll explore later, is in the practice section at the end of this course, is don't make your practice so big that you don't do it. And that's, I think, so crucial. Don't make your practice so big that you don't do it. Daily practice is where we begin to train our heart and mind to steady and to embrace. And so daily is the key. 5 breaths is a really beautiful way where you can easily bring a mindful moment into your day. Only takes a minute or 2. So is that something you could commit to, is doing 5 breaths once a day for the time that you're watching this course? That would be an awesome action. Let me know in the comments down below what your intentions are for this course and any commitments that you've got. And let's get on to the next session. So welcome to the session where we're going to explore how we can rest in the here and now, in the midst of our everyday lives. And I want to take you on my journey. So this is year 2 of my journey. So I came back from China and I came back to my everyday, and I moved back to living with my parents, and I love my parents, but I would notice myself getting triggered into like teenage patterns where my dad would be like smearing peanut butter all over the toaster, and then he would expect me to clear up and I would get frustrated. Damn you, Dad. So, there's just one silly example of where we are navigating challenge in our lives. We get reactive, we act in ways that maybe feel childish or we wouldn't want to. And we're on this journey of opening that spaciousness, right? Peace equals non-resistance. We have responsibility, the ability to choose our response. And so what we're trying to do is to open up more spaciousness so that when challenge hits us, that we can respond instead of react. So we're going to explore one of the key concepts of anchors. Anchor, on a ship is something that you put down onto the ocean bed to keep the ship steady as the waves of life roll over on the surface. Same thing for us. We're going to explore different places that we can rest our awareness, different anchors that can keep us in the here and now, a place we can focus to help us feel safe. And so we're going to jump straight into our next practice together, and this is going to be a longer practice, going to be 10 or 15 minutes, and we're going to find some anchors together. Now, obviously, if you feel that you are just doing stuff right now watching this video and you want to skip, there are time codes where you can skip the practices if you'd like to, if you want to stay with the ideas. But this is a meditation adventure, and so obviously we do need to meditate together at some point. So I trust you to navigate that as you so desire. Before we get to the practice, I want to speak quickly about how to sit. And because this is another myth around, you've got to be sitting cross-legged and maybe levitating in order to meditate properly, which obviously is not the case. Meditation's not about sitting in a specific posture. You can be lying down, you can be sitting on a chair, you can be standing up, or you can be sitting on the ground. All of it is welcome. And so, really trusting your body. This is about us embracing ourselves where we are. So if you want to sit on a chair, great. Then if you do want to sit on the floor, I want to just share two principles of how to sit. First of all, is to have your hips at least in line with your knees. Ideally, you don't want to have your knees above your hips because it puts pressure on your knees. And so, I've done some work to open up my hip flexors, and so your hips may not be as open as that. You may be here, and it just takes some time. Getting a bigger cushion can support you. The second thing is around the positioning of the knees. So the knees, they love doing this, but they don't love doing this. And if you're sitting cross-legged and you're putting a lot of force on this knee joint, it's going to hurt. So what we do is we lock off the joint and then we lower the leg. So we lock off and then lower. And you see, I don't have my feet crossed over like this. I just have them gently resting on the floor there. That's a position that works for me. Maybe you need more cushions. One more position is to be on your heels. And this is something that takes time. I don't have any furniture in my house. I work on the floor. I eat on the floor. Free flexibility, I love it. There are meditation stools that you can use as well, which may support you if that feels too painful for your ankles. But remembering that, our human species, we weren't born with sofas. We used to rest on the floor, and your body can over time become more comfortable with the floor, to make friends with the floor. But that's a journey. And if you're in a chair, awesome. That's exactly where you're supposed to be. So dear friend, I invite you to get comfortable and let us begin to arrive. Maybe closing the eyes, and that's only an option. You could either gaze downwards to the floor or gently allow the eyes to close. And coming to the breath, breathing in and out through your nose. Slow, kind, mindful breathing in and out through the nose, if that's available to you. Not to worry if not. Slowing the breath down, allowing your face to soften. Allowing the forehead and the eyes to sink and to unwind. Allowing the cheeks and the jaw to soften. allowing the throat to soften. Allowing the shoulders to sink. So to get that sensation, gently raising your shoulders and then gently allowing them to sink and to soften. And breathing down into the belly when you breathe in, releasing stomach tension, allowing the breath to sink deep down into you. No movement in your shoulders or your chest, sending the breath deep down into you. And see if you can place your awareness on the movement of your belly. Feeling the breath sink. If there are any sensations in that area, focusing on them. Your awareness on your belly, feeling the movement of the air. Now you may notice thinking. That's cool, that's just what brains do. Nothing to judge. Just noticing, okay, there's some thinking, and to bring your awareness back to the movement of the air around your belly. And now moving your awareness to your posture, the sensations of your body on the floor, maybe your feet, their connection to the earth, or your bum, maybe to the chair. Feel yourself held, feeling your seated posture. This is another anchor that's available for you to rest your awareness, bringing your awareness down into your body and out of your mind, where the vast majority of us spend most of our time. Resting your awareness with the sensations of your connection to the floor or the chair. And if you notice thinking, that's great, that's just what brains do, nothing to worry or judge. But when you notice, come back. With zero judgment, come back to your anchor. Bringing your awareness now up from your connection to the floor or the chair, up your body, up the back of your spine, up the back of your neck to your ears, and to now connect with the sounds that are entering your ears. To listen to the sounds directly, with no need to label them or to narrate what you are hearing, but to listen to the sounds directly. Sounds are another anchor that you can use if you notice yourself lost in thought and thinking. Listen to the sounds. They're always there. It's an option for us to rest with. And bringing your awareness from your ears to your nose and connecting with the movement of the air coming in and out through your nostrils. Present with that sensation of the movement of the air, the slight coldness of the air. And the warm air flowing back out. Resting with your breath. And I'd like to invite now a breath practice called 4-7-8, where we breathe in for 4, hold for 7, and breathe out for 8. As we slow down our breath, we slow down our mind and heart. And it may be that this is too slow for you, so you can always breathe in your own rhythm. Challenging yourself is good, but stress isn't. So always trusting your breath and your body. So let's try 5 of these. Breathing in for 4, 2, 3, 4. Holding the breath for 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and breathing out for 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Breathing in, softening your face, a relaxed, deep breath. Holding the breath, softening into the hold. And breathing out, slow to begin, not pushing at the end. Breathing in. Holding the breath. And breathing out. Breathing in. Holding the breath. And breathing out. One more, breathing in. Holding the breath. And breathing out. Continuing to watch your breath as your anchor, coming in and out through your nostrils. And we're going to spend a minute or so in silence now. Your awareness on your breath. And gently, still with the eyes closed, beginning to bring some movement to your body. Whatever your body would like to do, maybe some spinal waves. Maybe some shoulder rolls. Maybe some neck rolls. And gently, in your own time, opening your eyes and coming back into our space together. What a privilege to share our first proper practice together. And I hope you got that sense of that anchoring, that ability to ground and steady your awareness, to have moments of that. And really all of what you just experienced is welcome. You know, it's about embracing even the challenge, even the resistance. Doesn't need to be any judgment. If it was busy, it was busy. That's what your meditation was. Doesn't need to be any particular outcome. An action for you to reflect upon is like, what anchor worked for you? You know, we did the breath down here, grounding ourselves in the belly, remembering so much of our pain is up here, this thinking voice that we're going to get onto in our next session and how to deal with it. But can we come out? We're not just a disembodied brain in a dead body that's not intelligent. You know, we are embodied beings. And, you know, for my journey, I was like most people in the West, where I saw the body as just a vehicle to move the brain around between meetings and nightclubs. Whereas actually it's a place that we can rest. It's a teacher, a refuge, if we can train our awareness to steady. So what anchor works for you? We had the breath here, or we had our connection to the floor. Like I love when I'm standing to feel myself rooted to the ground, like that's a superpower. You're waiting for the bus to have your awareness on your feet. Awesome, free meditation, grounding yourself, getting out your head, getting into your body. All the sounds entering our ears to, if you're in nature, have a moment of silence and allow yourself to bring in those sounds as a way to support you. And then the breath, which for me has been the most powerful superpower, the breath. So, you know, when my dad would make me clear up his peanut butter, then, you know, I'd come to my breath and breathe and open into more spaciousness. Or, you know, I'm having an argument with somebody that I was dating or a friend, and then to come to my breath, to take one breath. So powerful. In the midst of the challenge, take a breath, come to your anchor, open up into spaciousness. And in that spaciousness is your freedom and your power. You find your wisdom too. You see more clearly, so you navigate with skill. And then with that wisdom, you find peace. So this is simple, right? It's your breath, it's your body, it's your ears, it's all you. You've already got it all. You don't need to pay a corporation a monthly subscription in order to get the benefits. You can get it in just a few moments. One breath, 5 breaths, or just focusing on what you're hearing. So powerful. And so I invite for you to deepen your relationship with your anchor. Find a place that you can rest more easily. I want to talk quickly about this, the human brain. And this is a really important part of our healing, is to just realize that, you know, we're human beings and we have brains, and there's billions of us that work in similar ways. Because, you know, on my journey, it's like I was anxious and I shouldn't be anxious, and I would beat myself up for it. Not realizing that, you know, anxiety is part of being a human being. Depression is, you know, an outcome when some of our fundamental needs aren't met, and our societies are not meeting a lot of our needs. And so, you know, it's not just your fault that if you're struggling and you're feeling that way, there are things that are happening through you, both from our societies and our relationships, and then also how we relate to ourselves, that then create experiences in the brain that then create certain emotions and certain experiences. And we've been talking about this spaciousness as the path to freedom and peace. And another way in psychology that they talk about this is the window of tolerance. We're expanding our window of tolerance. So you'll know about fight or flight as some of our reactivity, that if you think about a crocodile a crocodile sees its prey, and have you seen these death rolls where they just do the death roll and they spin around? So that's fight. And then flight or freeze is where we freeze. And for example, I met a toad once when I was in China and it was raining, and the toad just went into freeze mode, pretending it was invisible. And I was like this far away from it. I was like, look mate, you know that I can see you. We're looking straight at each other. He was like, no, I'm invisible. That's my defense mechanism. So that's fight or flight. And to hugely generalize the complexity of the brain, you could say that we have 3 levels of our brain. So we've got the croc brain, or the reptile brain, which is our basic, fight or flight instincts. Then we've got the mammalian brain, which gives our ability to care for others and have the emotions of wanting to play and more joy and complexity. And then we have the human brain, particularly the prefrontal cortex, which is this big wobbly bit at the front of our brains, which is particularly big for human beings, which gives us our ability to rationalize, to think about other people's perspectives, to forgive. So if we're in fight or flight, if we're in the croc brain, that's where a lot of challenge can happen. We're outside of our window of tolerance. We're in fight or flight. So for example, I was looking at that toad in China and it froze. And it made me think about the fact that I'm a freezer, not a fighter. From my upbringing, with some of the challenge that I had, is that, if people were arguing, and I still notice this, if I hear people arguing, my nervous system goes, oh, be small, don't react, don't add to the problem. And so that's me going into, freeze, right? So I'm outside of my window of tolerance. And what I've been doing over these years is to just notice that tendency. Okay, I'm shutting down because I'm hearing arguing, I'm hearing intensity, and to stay with it, to breathe into it. And so then my window of tolerance expands because I'm staying with challenge, I'm staying with that intensity where previously I'd shut down. Or if you are a fighter, then you go into defense and you go into attack. So through meditation, we are developing the ability to open the window of tolerance, to open that spaciousness within so we can choose. And to help you expand your window of tolerance, so we get out of just the fight or flight and we get into consideration and forgiveness and empathy, 2 powerful life-changing questions I'd love for you to write down. One is what is happening inside of me? And 2, can I be with this? So 1, what is happening inside of me? If we're in the croc brain and we're in fight or flight and reactivity, we don't name, okay, here is anxiety or here's reactivity. We're just lost in it. I am anxious. I am depressed. That person's annoying me. How could they do that? Whereas if we can just name it, okay, here's an anxious thought. Okay, here's me getting triggered by my parents. Here is me being triggered by my coworkers. We name it, like what is happening inside of me. Then we open up into spaciousness. We're activating that prefrontal cortex. Then can I be with this? Is this embracing right? Peace equals non-resistance. Can I be with this? Is okay, here's intensity. Before I was shut down or run away or distract or binge. Can I be with it? And the more that we can stay with our experiences, the more we expand our window of tolerance, the more we can then be with life and open up into the beauty of life. That if we are overwhelmed, we close ourselves down and we miss the beauty that is all around us and inside of us. So what's happening inside of me, and can I stay with it? We are on to session 3, where we're going to explore our minds and how we can understand the nature of thinking so that we can find more freedom from our thoughts. But before we get there, I just want to talk quickly about Taoist Wellness Online, which is me and my Tai Chi Masters online academy, where you can explore the breath and Tai Chi and a lot more of these ideas in depth. There's an awesome student community, and if you'd like to join, it's one of the main ways that you can support me and my work. We now have a team of 19 people who are passionate about creating films, communities, and transformative education to help people and planet live in balance. Plus, there's loads of learning for you, a free 7-day trial, and a free course as well. There's links in the description if you'd like to join. All right, so let's get into the nature of our minds, thinking and thoughts, and how do we find freedom from them. On my journey, in year 3 of my journey, I had learned to use my breath to rest and to be able to ground myself in the present moment. But I still had this voice in my head. Okay, I was making friends with the underminer, but I didn't really know how to relate to the underminer that well. You know, it would still give me pain of like, oh, yeah, you're still single, or you still don't have many friends. Oh, and you're financially insecure starting the YouTube channel. You really should be doing better than you are right now. Another part of my psyche is called the life evaluator, who's got a clipboard from birth to death, who then says, yeah, okay, you're still financially insecure, not where you really should be by this point. You know, these internal judgments. And then there's another part of me, Georgie, who's my inner boy, who's, you know, gets insecure and lonely and, you know, wants to be loved. And, you know, when I go on a date, like, have I done well enough? Or if somebody doesn't reply to my messages, have I not done well enough? So, you know, there you go. There's an insight to some of the challenges and the tendencies that I have in my mind. And it's all good, you know, resting with our anchors, with the breath. Awesome, awesome, awesome. But there's also some work that we can do, is that if we understand the nature of thoughts, then we don't have to get caught. We don't always have to just be observing, saying, no, underminer, I understand you, you mean the best, but you're chatting nonsense. We can actually begin to work with the thoughts and to find more freedom with them. So that's what we're going to explore in this session of how we do that. So let's just do a little mini practice just to understand the nature of thoughts. This is just going to take a minute or so. So if you'd like to, I invite you to close your eyes and simply just bring to mind a conversation that you had recently, somebody that you were talking to, and to replay in your mind the words that were said. Who said what? All right, and we're going to try another exercise now. And this exercise is, we're just going to stop thinking for 30 seconds, right? Super simple, just going to stop thinking for 30 seconds. Now, you're not allowed to think, but if you do, I'd like you to count the number of thoughts that you have had. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, stop thinking. And that is time coming back into our space together. So let me know in the comments how many thoughts you had. Because that's what happens, right? The brain thinks. We can't stop it. A couple of things we learned from that. So yeah, the brain thinks, we can't stop it. These thoughts are involuntary, arising and passing, arising and passing. And the other thing is that, okay, we imagined this conversation and we could see, okay, this is just a projection that we had in our mind, like a little movie theater with the thoughts arising. And it's easy to see that we create our thoughts when we do it in an exercise as simple as that. It's a lot harder, you know, when we're stuck in the trance of unworthiness, as Tara Brach says, you know, and these limiting beliefs and these critical characters in our headspaces that give us pain. It's a lot harder to see, okay, that's actually doesn't have to be true. It's just a thought. So here's a really powerful sentence for you to write down. Thoughts are real, but not true. Thoughts are real, but not true. You know, thoughts are real in the sense that, you know, they're happening for us. They're an experience that we are having in the present moment, but they cannot be true, right? Because here's your noggin, this big, and you're trying to understand an infinite mystery, an infinite universe. And you are so complex, 36 trillion cells coming together, and we can barely understand ourselves, let alone the people in our lives as well. And yet we have these really firm judgments of, she said this because she wanted that, and, you know, my boss hates me, which is why she never allocates any of the work to me. We get quite convinced of the stories that we tell ourselves, right? It's really helpful to remember thoughts are real, but not true. Thoughts are real, but not true. When we have that understanding, then we have a bit more humility, that we don't always have to believe every thought that pops into our head. All right, to really understand the nature of thoughts, I'm going to look a wee bit silly for you. So imagine that each ball is a thought. Like, my name is George and I grew up in Bristol in England. My favourite love language is vegan brownies. I know all the words to the Tarzan soundtrack off by heart. Here I am, here's George, the story that I create about myself. But the funny thing is that there's nothing intrinsically George about me. If I was born in another country, I'd have a different story, I'd have a different name. These thoughts would be different. And in all the times of my life where I felt not good enough, it's not like not good enough is a physical quality of the universe. No, that feeling of not good enough came from judgmental thoughts that popped into my head that I identified with. So if we really get this, it leads to something tragic that we can only laugh at. That think about all the pain in your life and all the pain that's been in my life, and then how that manifests into the violence and injustice in our world. That arises from the fact that we believed in the stories about who we are that were painful, but they were only true to the extent that we believed the thoughts that popped into our heads and we identified with them. So can we build that humility? Thoughts are real but not true. And actually we have the freedom to, and this is what meditation gives us, is to just actually take off the hat. We don't have to be as sticky. We can have a thought, pop through our awareness and we can let it go. It's like, I'm not good enough. We can just allow that to fade. Or, yeah, like, I'm never going to find a partner that resonates with me. Just allow that to fade. We can't control the brain. That's what we learned at the start. The brain thinks, that's what it does. But what we can do is let the thoughts go. There's that space, which is our freedom and power. And through the act of steadying our awareness with meditation and embracing the present moment, we can allow it to flow through. A story from the Buddha. A young boy says, Mum, imagine that there are 8 tigers surrounding you. What would you do? And Mum's like, what, 8 tigers? Yeah, there's no way out. I'd be eaten. I don't know. What would I do? The young boy says, all you need to do is stop imagining. As Mark Twain says, I've had so many challenges in my life, most of which never came to pass. So much of our pain is up here. Thinking is awesome, thinking is great, but can we have that discernment to be able to choose our response to our thoughts, to not just allow ourselves to constantly be overwhelmed by this thinking, believing that every thought is true. You're not your thoughts, not every thought is true. You have the spaciousness to let it go. All right, I want to share with you an action that you could do, and pause the video at some point to do this. And this is a simple one that you probably know about, but it's super, super powerful. It's just to begin to write down the beliefs that we have and to actually get them down. So we can both do the empowering and then the challenging. So, maybe that as we're going to learn, that there is good reason to think that there is a wholeness to us, that there is a beauty to our being, that there's value that comes to us that's not just from what we do, but what we are. So an affirmation that I say in the mornings is that I am whole and I am joyful. And what comes up as maybe you would say that at home, there may be some limiting beliefs, or like, well, I can't be whole because, I'm single. And so, I feel lonely. Or, how could I be whole and be anxious? And so it's really, really powerful to get these thoughts down, written onto paper, because then you can begin to look at it and it's like, well, does me being lonely, feeling lonely, does that really mean I'm not whole? Oh, well, actually, okay, yeah, I have a yearning for connection, but that doesn't make me any less whole than I am. And actually, when people connect as two whole individuals, there's so much more beauty there, as opposed to like, please fulfill me, because then we become codependent, and that has its own challenges. Anxiety, we've already talked a lot about in the course already. It's like, okay, being anxious is part of being human. We get scared, we can get overwhelmed. Does that make us not whole? I don't think so. So what are some of the beliefs that you have where you're getting in your own way? So we've talked about how thoughts are real but not true. And if we have this process of discernment, then we can begin to find those beliefs that are limiting us and keeping us trapped in pain, and then begin to reprogram them, put them into the positive as actually what do we want to affirm. And a practice that we'll explore at the end of this course is embodied affirmations. And I'll talk just quickly about it now, where each morning I do an embodied affirmation, and you can copy some of these if you'd like. So each morning I say, with humility and compassion and moderation and integrity, I serve fearlessly. Or another one, I'm whole, I am joyful, and I move with the body, I am joyful. And so even if, I'm feeling a bit groggy or a bit maybe insecure in the morning, if I can, get into that energy of like, I am whole, I am joyful, in that present moment, just for that moment, I am embodying that energy of my potential and what I am capable of, that empowering truth, which helps me live with more joy and energy. So this process is really powerful. I invite you to do it. Just piece of paper, meditate on it, take 30 minutes on it. And, what are some of the limiting beliefs? And then, what impact have they had on your life, and are they true? And then finding what the empowering truth is for you. And then in the morning, writing an affirmation so that you can bring that energy, that empowering truth into your day. And if you do that every day, then your life begins to change. So we are learning about the nature of our thinking. We found that thoughts are real but not true. And a lot of it, as we found in the limiting beliefs exercise, is fake news, right? We tell these things as if they're true, but they're not. I like to call it bullshit arising in consciousness. That's what I call limiting beliefs. So that awareness, that humility, super important. It's taking us though on a bigger journey to really understand how our consciousness works, how our awareness works. Our thinking mind takes a lot of credit for our lives. Like, my name is George and that's what I am. I'm like a voice in a head, in a body. Whereas actually, that voice in our head is only a very small aspect of who we are. There's so much to life that cannot be captured with words. So like love, the experience of love. There's not some voice in your head saying, love, 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 love. There's an intuitive feeling between two people, or if you're in nature, feeling a love for life. When we are in presence, like in those moments of being with the breath, attunement with ourselves in the present moment, that is an experience not with words, but that direct experience. And so there is so much to life that cannot be captured with words. And if we think about the evolution of life on this planet, if my arm was outstretched, so this is the start of the Earth, and then this is today, and this is a timeline, then all of human history could be contained just on the fingertip. So if I was to file the fingertip, then the whole of human history would disappear, right? So, we think we're so important, and this rationality and cognition is like what intelligence is. But in fact, it's kind of an afterthought. It came very late in the process of life. So thoughts, if we really understand what they are maps that we put onto the world. Like if you go hiking, you have a map of a mountain. Obviously the mountain is much more complex than the map, but the map is a simplification so that we can name, okay, it gets us from A to B. It helps us guide and navigate the world. The map is really helpful, but it's not the territory. The map is not the territory. Another classic phrase you might know is the finger pointing at the moon is not the moon. So, when you have these teachings around how to find peace, the meditation that we're exploring, that's like somebody saying, look, peace is over here. The moon is over there. But really, the peace that we're looking for is not a concept. It's not the word itself. It's not the finger pointing at the moon. It's the moon itself, the peace, the experience that you have. And so that is something that you must discover for yourself instead of just being able to have this all communicated with words. So There is so much to life that cannot be captured with words. Words are constructs that we put onto the infinite, wiggly reality. And if we can bring that awareness, then that's when we begin to find more freedom and peace. So I want to come back to awareness. Really, we're beginning to understand our awareness more. So in our awareness, thoughts and feelings and experiences arise. And we can direct our awareness to focus on different parts of that experience. And we found that thinking, which normally we would just believe our thoughts, is just an experience arising in awareness. It's real, it's an experience, but it can't be true because we're trying to understand an infinite reality using our limited consciousness. Now, as we, in our practice, expand into, focusing on different anchors, expanding our awareness, getting out of the head and beginning to re-embody, then we can keep on expanding this understanding of who we really are. Because we're not just the voice in our head. We are the embodied awareness, the space in which all of these thoughts and feelings arise. And with our practice, the more that we can identify with that awareness, that spaciousness, and we're going to do a practice in a moment to experience this for ourselves, the more we can realize that actually we're more like the sky. And the clouds are like thoughts and feelings of, I'm not good enough and I left the washing out. These are experiences arising in our awareness, like clouds passing in the sky. And in the same way that even the fiercest hurricane cannot corrupt the sky, for you and I, our birthright is a human heart and a human mind that can experience the totality of human experience without being corrupted. That we have the room and the spaciousness to experience the 10,000 joys and the 10,000 sorrows. And the teachers from Buddha to Lao Tzu to Jesus, they believed in your heart, the capacity of your heart to stay with the challenge of life and the beauty of life. And sometimes we can doubt that capacity. I'm not strong enough to hold it. But the funny thing is that thought of I'm not strong enough is indeed still happening within the sky of awareness. It's still happening within that embodied awareness. So even our limiting beliefs, those judgments and insecurities, they are still happening within this process of being a human being who's aware and alive right here, right now. So the more that we can identify with the sky, the more spaciousness there is, the more expansiveness there is, and then the more ease and ability we have to glide through life. So let's do another practice to see if we can experience that. All right, welcome, dear friend, back to another practice. And in this practice, we're going to just be present with thoughts and feelings and see what we can learn about ourselves and take another step on the path to peace. So you can be sitting in any way you'd like to be, maybe on a chair, maybe on the floor. And when you're ready, closing the eyes or gazing downwards and coming to your breath. Breathing in and out through your nostrils, if that's available to you, and slowing down your breath. Slow, kind, mindful breathing. Allowing the face to soften. Feel yourself sinking, unwinding. Slowing the breath. Your awareness on the movement of the air coming in and out through your nostrils. And that sensation of the air coming in and out is an experience arising in your awareness. And maybe there are sounds entering your ears, and those too are experiences arising in your awareness. And maybe you have noticed some thinking. Can you form a new relationship with that thought to see that it too is just an experience arising in your awareness? An energy arising and passing. And you have the freedom to allow these thoughts to pop up and to go, without you needing to do anything with them. Without needing to believe or identify with, or reject and judge. Focusing your awareness on your breath. Noticing when you're lost and gently coming back. And maybe there's a light smile on the face. And it can be fake, it can be real, it doesn't matter. It still sends joyful signals through our nervous system. Opening up into more spaciousness and ease right here, right now. An invitation now is to move your awareness from just focusing on the breath to opening up into no particular focus. So instead, open up to the field of awareness. To open up into more and more spaciousness. So you may be present with the sensations of your body being held by the floor, by your posture, by your breath, by the sounds, by the red lighting your eyes, opening up to it all with no particular focus. With no need to focus on one particular thing, can you open up your awareness to experience the field itself, to be the sky, and to notice the clouds passing in your awareness? Nothing to do, nowhere to go, no one to be. Can you lose yourself? To open up from just the habitual thinking and to open up into the spaciousness within which the thoughts arise. To allow all experience to arise and pass, the challenge and the beauty, without resistance. If you notice yourself lost in a particular sensation, lost in thoughts or focusing on a particular pain, open back up. To be the field of awareness itself with no particular focus. To soften. And gently bringing yourself back to your breath. Coming back to your breath, breathing in and out through your nostrils. Slow, kind, mindful breathing. And still with your eyes closed, bringing some movement to the body. Maybe some spinal waves. Maybe some shoulder rolls. Maybe some neck rolls. And taking as long as you want, opening your eyes and coming back into our space together. Privileged to voyage into that spaciousness with you. And in the words of Rumi, there's nothing to believe. It's only when I stopped believing in myself that I came into this beauty. For so long I was guarding the pearl of my soul, but now in this hurling current I've lost track of which was mine. So the more that we can move from just identifying with the thoughts and feelings, the clouds arising in our awareness, and instead to identify as the awareness itself, the sky within which they happen, then we lose ourselves, the normal sense of self, the small George, the small you, instead to open up into a bigger potential. And in that moment of opening up, there is a spaciousness, an ease, and a joy that can support us and resource us. All right, so a bit of a recap of where we are in the journey. So we've gone seeing our potential, we've learned how to rest, we've understood the nature of our minds, and now we're on to our fourth session with the 3 steps of mindfulness. So we can really boil down this whole process that we're talking about into three steps. The first is notice. So we're just developing this ability, instead of reacting, to just notice, okay, this is a judgmental thought, this is a challenging person, it's arising in the field of my awareness. I'm just going to notice it instead of getting lost in it. Stage 2, centering. So centering is where we bring our awareness to a place that feels safe. And it may be our physical center. So, on the breath, down on the belly, ears, all these anchors we've been exploring. So we notice a challenging thought, come to our breath. We've noticed that we're getting triggered by a coworker, come to our breath. Another way that we can center is through connecting with the field of awareness itself that we've been talking about. So we are embodied awareness, thoughts and feelings arising in the present moment. And the more that we can connect with the spaciousness, that is then the center within which we can navigate the challenge. And remember, when we open up into that spaciousness, we find our wisdom, and then we can show up with life more skillfully. And then we've got choose. So stage 3 is choose. So we notice, we center, and we choose. And we've got a few options with choose. So we've got let it go. So, we could just do nothing. We could just actually do nothing, which is great, right? With a judgmental thought and anxiety, it's like normally we think, oh, I've got to not think like this, and I should be at peace, and we fight it. Another option is available, which is just let it go. Take a breath, let it go. What a joy to have that as an option. Or we can act. So we can take action. And this is, I think, a crucial bit. It's like sometimes people say, meditation is just a magic fix that's going to do everything for you in your life. Your life is going to radically change. But actually, sometimes we do need to act. And what meditation does, can't help us make every decision in our lives to give us the exact answer of what to do. But what it can do is help us gain the wisdom and the spaciousness to find our own answers. So meditation doesn't fix our lives, but it does fix us so that we can fix our own lives. And part of that fixing is realizing we don't need fixing, and actually embracing ourselves as we are is the real learning. So action is sometimes needed, or we change how we relate to the experience. So it may be that, say, like with loneliness, which is something that I've experienced in my 20s, is okay, I could let it go, keep on letting go, this feeling of loneliness and the thoughts of not being enough. Well, I can take action, I can go meet friends and go do that. And also there's a crucial bit around, okay, let's get deeper, like we did with the limiting beliefs exercise, is that there's a difference between being alone and feeling lonely. There's people in a relationship with kids that because they aren't seen and heard by their husbands, they feel deeply alone and lonely, even though they're surrounded by people. Or you have a hermit living in a cave, hasn't met anyone for years and feels totally at peace. So then there needs to be some work on how we change how we relate to the situation. All right, so that is the 3 steps. Notice, center, choose, notice, center, choose. Doing that with more and more of your life. Notice the experience, come to your center, take a breath, or come into spaciousness, and then choose your response. Let it go, take action, or change how you relate to it. All right, welcome, dear friend, to our next session. So we are now going to explore how meditation can help us understand our place in the universe, to understand what we are a part of. And indeed, meditation can begin to help us answer some of those mysterious questions. Because when you had moments of presence, right, you were watching your breath, you were no longer just thinking the whole time, then you came into relationship with a bit of a mystery, right? Here I am, breathing, thinking, feeling. I'm a human being, and there's billions of us human beings, and you can't feel what I feel, you can't think what I think. And then there's millions of species on this planet, all of which have their own types of experience, like bats who whistle, creating a sound wave bath that then gets reflected back, and then they process in their minds a 3D map of the world so that in the pitch darkness, they can hunt a fly and snatch it out from just whistling. Incredible. Then there's your dog who loves, tummy rubs and is so loving and has that unconditional love. Another species that's having an experience here on planet Earth. So when we come into the present moment and we come into relationship with that mystery of our awareness, consciousness, we then begin to form a deeper embodied and experiential understanding of who we are. In every culture over history, they've come up with religions and spiritualities to help us answer some of these big questions, like how did all of this come about? How did it happen? Is there a God? A Christian may call that mystery God, a Muslim Allah, a Hindu Brahman, a Taoist who I studied with in China may call it the Tao, or an atheist may call it the forces of nature. The word doesn't really matter, it's pointing to the same mystery. And while obviously we are part of the great mystery, it doesn't mean that we can't determine some of the principles that shape you and I and the universe. And we'll explore how our meditation practice can help us understand some of those principles. If I was just to give you one to think about and reflect upon, is that you are relationship. You are relationship. If you think about it, you're 36 trillion cells, 36 trillion cells, and each one of your cells is itself a self-organizing system, amazingly complex. 36 trillion come together to make you, this thinking, speaking, complex being. The emergent property of all these cells coming together is this advanced consciousness that you are. Then if we look at the universe, we see actually everything's in relationship as well. From the smallest atom, which itself, we used to think atoms were like billiard balls. Everything was made of Lego blocks. And that's how the universe was built. So actually the atom is itself a process of relationship. You have the nucleus, and then you have the electrons going around it. And then that's what we call an atom, but it's not actually a thing. It's a process of relationship. Then we can keep on going up from the atom. We've explored you, your 36 trillion cells, all in relationship. Then we can go onto our planet and all of these different aspects of life that are in relationship. Like you and I, we need our supermarket clerks in order to get us groceries. We need the bin collectors to collect the bins. We need the plants to give us energy. Quick shout out to the plants. A banana has 50% of the genes that you have. 50% of the genes that you have in your DNA, a banana has as well. The relationships continue. The Earth itself is part of a great solar system, which itself isn't a thing, it's a process of relationship. Then galaxies. A galaxy isn't a thing either, it's a process of relationship. 100 billion stars in every galaxy. Then our universe is made up of billions of galaxies. So everything in the universe is in relationship. And I want to share with you a clip from my upcoming film called The Subtle Art of Losing Yourself. Descartes believed our thinking minds made us superior to the rest of nature. But we found evidence that the Neanderthals felt and thought in ways surprisingly similar to us. And we found the animals experience rich emotions and navigate their lives creatively. We haven't found any splits between humanity and nature or between our minds and bodies. So us asking where does our intelligence come from has led us to a bigger and deeper question. How is it that our planet is bursting with beings that are conscious, having experiences, and so are able to solve the challenges they face intelligently? What consciousness is, or how conscious life began on planet Earth, is a great mystery. Planet Earth was once just rocks and water. But what we can see from the fossil record is that life on Earth began billions of years ago, and through evolution became more and more complex. Eventually, animals evolved, and they began to experience emotions such as fear. And these emotions became more and more complex, like care for family or the desire to play. And eventually, for some animals, thoughts and basic language began to arise in their minds, giving them the ability to interpret and tell stories about what they were experiencing. And for one animal, us Homo sapiens, we developed highly advanced language, which led to an explosion of human power and lots of questions. Every human culture has some form of spirituality or religion. Stories to help satisfy our natural curiosity. We want to understand who we are and what we are a part of. Given the infinite mystery we find ourselves involved with, any understanding of ourselves needs to be made with humility. As the Bible says, with humility comes wisdom. But we found we can, through observation, determine some of the principles that shape us and the universe. Science, at its core, is this process of observation, making predictions about the world, collecting evidence, seeing what the evidence tells us. Science doesn't have to feel cold and mechanical. In fact, it's led us to an understanding that many wisdom traditions shared, something that's truly inclusive and universal, that all of us, no matter our religion, nationality, gender, or even our species, we all come from the same mysterious source. One of the great barriers to us finding peace is disconnection. And so if you have thoughts telling you that you're separate from the world, or there's nothing inspiring about you, shift your focus and reconnect with what you are a part of. You are made from the same energy that created the many humans, the plants, the animals, and our precious, beautiful home, planet Earth. All right, here's a fun little equation for you, talking about our relationship with the universe to understand who we really are and what we are a part of. We talked about that we are relationship, right? 36 trillion cells coming together into this magic being that you are. And then we also saw that the universe, everything's in relationship from the smallest atom, which isn't a thing with hard edges, it also equals relationship, right? So that means if you equal relationship and the universe equals relationship, that means that the universe equals you. Far out, man. So, it's like we are an aspect of the whole, right? Okay, we have this illusion of separation that, I can't feel what you feel, you can't think what I think. But the idea that I am separate from the universe is created by neurons in my brain that were made in the fiery furnace of a star billions of years ago. And then over the process of life, all of this complexity has happened, and then here I am thinking and feeling. So you and I, we are a way for the universe to know itself. Aspects of the whole. So you and me were like waves on the ocean. Like, hi, I'm George, and maybe your name is Barnaby. Hey, I'm Barnaby. And, we get so obsessed in our lifetimes of, trying to aggrandize these waves. Like, I've just got a PhD. I've just got a brand new house. Have you seen the lawn? There we are, like trying to aggrandize these things, like as if we're waves. Like I'm a wave, I'm separate from the world. But obviously a wave is the ocean, right? The wave is the ocean. It's a pattern on the ocean. It's not separate from it. And this is a classic line from Alan Watts, in the same way that if an ocean waves, then the universe peoples. So we're in a universe that peoples, manifestations of it. So you are a magnificent manifestation of the mysterious intelligence of the universe. And this brings us to the cosmic joke. The cosmic joke is that we're already it. We're already part of this great unfolding. We are already whole. We are sacred, if that's a word that works for you. We have a value that comes from our being, not just what we do. And yet, part of that sacredness is all of this judgment about us not being good enough and being flawed and there are things being wrong with us. That is part of it too. So the cosmic joke is actually enlightenment. is coming back to realizing who we already are. It's not getting from here to there, but it's getting from there, where we think we should be, to here, where we already are. Thich Nhat Hanh, a Zen Buddhist teacher, says that enlightenment is the moment that a wave realizes it's the ocean. So for you in your practice, as you deepen your meditation practice, and we'll do a practice together now, is to consider that you are an aspect of the whole, a wave on the ocean, a way for the universe to know itself. So welcome, friend, back to another practice. And I'd invite us for this meditation practice to explore a meditation that has been inspired by a chapter from the Tao Te Ching, which is the foundational text of Taoism, which is the tradition that I have studied with. Chapter 16 of the Tao Te Ching invites us to empty our minds and our hearts and to contemplate the great unfolding that we are a part of. And I'm going to invite in this meditation for you to play with visualization, to see what comes up for you as we visualize what we are a part of. And if you don't get much from it, that's cool, that's fine, because not everyone is a visual person. But let's see where we go with it. Because there's one way that we can, through our own experience, reconnect with what we are a part of. And then we're going to come back to emptiness and to, again, empty into spacious awareness. So, dear friends, you can be sitting in any way that you'd like to be, coming into a comfortable position and closing the eyes. Coming to your breath, breathing in and out through your nostrils, if that's available to you, and slowing down your breath. Slow, kind, mindful breathing. Watching your breath. Landing with your breath, softening your breath as your anchor, training your awareness to steady. If you notice thinking, that's fine, that's what brains do. Meditation's not about stopping that thinking, but instead to open up into more awareness and to choose. And in this moment, we are choosing our breath as our anchor. So we keep coming back. And maybe a light smile on the face, meeting ourselves with kindness. Softening your mind. I invite you now to bring to mind the flourishing of life. Bringing to mind all the plants and animals that live on this planet with us. The biggest tree that you've ever met. Your favorite pet. Bringing to mind the eyes of a pet that you love. We now dive deep into the oceans, imagining a whale, a great blue whale that breaches, jumping up out of the water and crashing back down in plumes of water. Traveling with your mind now to the savannas of Africa with zebras and lions, warthogs and buffalo, the great abundance that we are a part of. And bringing to mind the growing of a fungus, a mushroom, Some that cause psychedelic experiences, others that cause healing in many different forms. Now picturing the human world, great cities, great pieces of art, music and dance. And also challenge, poverty, injustice, loneliness. I invite you now to imagine two hands on your shoulders, with two people standing behind you, your parents, and they're holding your shoulders with a sense of love and compassion and support. Imagining your parents behind you, those that birthed you, that created you. And now imagine on their shoulders are their parents, your grandparents. So from one becomes two, becomes four. Imagining your grandparents on either side of your mother and father. Now imagining that their mothers and fathers are holding their shoulders. And keep going back. Their mothers and fathers with hands on their shoulders, generation after generation. A huge triangle of people, you the point, and then fading behind you is generation after generation of human beings with their own uniqueness, their own stories, their own challenges, their own joys. All of them had to live for you to be here. In your mind's eye, imagining now, going further and further back, generation after generation. As your ancestors seem less human, more monkey, then going through the different forms of the animals and the plants, going back and back to the birth of life on our planet 4 billion years ago. Going back and back to the birth of the sun. The earth had still not been born. Moving back and back. The universe beginning to collapse back into itself. Back and back to around 14 billion years. To the Big Bang. The point at which we believe the universe to have begun. You are relationship. All of those relationships, from your parents to your grandparents, to the foundations of life on our planet, all the way back to the start of the universe, needed to be here for you to be here now. There is no separation. You are a way for the universe to know itself. Zooming back forward in time now, gliding through the years, you see the sun appear and the earth. You zoom into the earth and see the process of time, seasons after seasons, generations after generations, going back through your human ancestors, back and then forward to your grandparents, to your parents on your shoulders, and back to you. Taking a breath. This great beauty that you are a part of, this great unfolding that with all the challenge has created the beauty that is you. I invite you to open up into the field of awareness, to not need to focus on anything in particular, to rest your awareness with nothing to do, nowhere to go, no one to be. To lose yourself and to be here now. Focusing on nothing in particular, to be the sky, to be the awareness, the spaciousness within which thoughts and feelings can arise and can pass. Training your awareness to steady, to rest, and to embrace what is. Bringing your awareness now to your breath. Slow, kind, mindful breathing. And to put a light smile on your face, beginning to move your body, giving yourself a squeeze of your body with your hands. To celebrate yourself, to celebrate what you are a part of. To come into presence with what you are. With the eyes still closed, bringing some movement to the body, maybe some spinal waves or some shoulder rolls. And gently, your own time, opening your eyes and coming back. I'm grateful for you to voyage to that space, for us to reconnect with what we are a part of. And for me, I have a sense of love for life when I go there, to remember. Remember, member is the body, remember, to re-embody, to recognize, to recognitize what we are, what we already are. is coming back into relationship. And so in our practice, we can train our awareness to come back, to embrace. And if there was one action that I could invite for you to do this week or this month, is to get out into nature. What's the wildest nature you can get out into? And to just be quiet. To maybe put your hand on a tree or listen to the sounds of the birds and to see what comes up for you. To remember, to recognize what you are a part of. All right, awesome human, look how far we've come. We've come from our potential, learning how to rest, learning about the minds, 3 steps of mindfulness, learn about our connection to the universe and the world, and we've got 3 stages left. So we're going to talk about then how we show up in the world, given now we understand who we are and what we are a part of. Then we're going to explore how we can stay resilient through all the inevitable change, and then how we can make practice an effortless part of our everyday. So we've understood, our relationship with the universe, that we're an aspect of the whole, and meditation has helped us understand that. You equal relationship, the universe equals relationship, you equal the universe. Say what? But a question we can now ask is like, well, how do we show up in the world? And how do we live our lives knowing who we are and our potential for peace and for balance? And this is a really important question. And, maybe that at the moment we're just, struggling with meaning, and it can feel like, given this world of where we're doing work that we don't really care about and working so many hours, and we're living in these systems that seem to be unraveling, it's hard to find meaning and purpose in this world. And I want to share with you 4 ideas about, well, how can you show up in the world, and how could your understanding of yourself that comes from your meditation actually change how you live and how you act. So for me, grounding myself in a love for life, we found out our potential and what we are a part of. And when I reconnect with nature and my nature and your nature, I have a love for humanity and for nature. And that's even with all the challenge, to see our potential. And I think it's so important to see the potential in ourselves and the world. Like balance is possible. And if we don't believe in our potential, then we begin to lose our own energy, and we begin to just on a collective basis, we've got climate change and that runaway breakdown. If we focus on avoiding catastrophe, there's a big change in energy of like avoiding catastrophe versus creating a world of love and balance. And like, what does that look like? Do you want to be on the team Titanic, like everything's sinking and going to shit? Or do you want to be on the team is like, look, we can create a more beautiful world. Okay, there's going to be challenges in it, but we have a love for life and we act from love. So stage 2 of like showing up in the world and being part of this movement of people that can help create a more balanced, beautiful planet is simplicity. Because if we understand that, okay, we are sacred, we have a value that comes from our being, not just what we do, then suddenly our whole attitude to life changes. We have so much advertising and messaging that says, buy this handbag and then you'll be respected and honored finally, or have the big house and have the nice partner and have the nice kids and go on the nice holidays, and then you'll be enough. The problem with that is that we're just constantly striving, craving after more and more stuff outside of ourselves to try and fill this gaping hole inside of us. And the advertisers, they profit from this, even though they don't actually fulfill your deep needs of belonging and wholeness, because it's something actually ultimately we can only give ourselves. And so when we have a love for life, we understand who we are, then we naturally live a life of simplicity, because we know that then we find freedom because we're already whole. And then also knowing that, we live on a planet with only so many trees and only so many resources. So then to live a life of simplicity is to honor that there needs to be enough space and enough resources for all human beings and all life to flourish, which then involves us living with simplicity. Point 3 is then, how do we then act in the world? So we have a love for life and we live simply. Then the energy of service. I think is such a vital energy to fill your life with meaning, is that there's a huge difference between success and service. Success is what our society talks about. Do the job, then you'll become successful. The problem with aiming for success is that we then define ourselves as unsuccessful, which means, there's something missing. Whereas service, to act to serve people, to help people, feels good whether it's big or small. And there's two awesome things about service. One is that our nervous system is wired in a way that it feels deeply meaningful to help other people and to be of service to other people. So it feels great, it feels meaningful. You can fill your life with meaning if you aim for service. And then secondly, is that if everything in the universe is in relationship, we're in a web of interconnection, interbeing is another way of saying it, then even if your actions are really small, they still ripple out into this interconnected web. And sometimes we can feel like, well, I'm too small to make a difference. What's the point of me doing anything? Well, you can make a difference. And so bringing into our awareness the idea of system change, that in a world of interconnection, is that you and I, we can change the systems that are currently destroying the world, and we can create systems that can help humanity flourish in balance with nature. A quote I love from Charles Eisenstein is, "The story creates the system and we create the story." So in a world of interbeing and interrelationship, even the smallest action can radiate out into the whole. And so the world and its saving doesn't rely on you and I, but instead a movement of people, a community of people. And if there's enough of us, then the world and the systems that shape our world can change. And so it doesn't rely on me and you, and yet it does rely on people like me and you stepping up and acting in love, simplicity, service, and system change. So this is not only a framework to fill your life with meaning, but also then contribute to a more awesome world. And yeah, there's huge challenges. There are huge challenges. But a quote that really supports me around hope, like holding on to hope as an energy to keep us going. Hope is not a state of the world, but a state of mind, where we work towards something that's valuable in itself, not just because it's likely to happen. So we need to hold on to that potential, both in our own healing and the healing of the world. So some actions you could take from this is to reflect on and journal on, how could I fall back in love with life, with humanity, with myself? What would a life of simplicity look like for me? How could I show up in service? How would my life change if I aim for service instead of success? And how could I show up for system change more? What would that look like? Maybe volunteering, donating money, donating time. Some questions for you to reflect on. All right, welcome back. We're on to stage 7. We've got 2 more sessions left. And this is really now bringing it back home to how we can show up with resilience in our lives. Because we've talked about, all this potentiality that we have to embrace the present moment in ourselves without resistance, to form a relationship with our awareness, and to make friends with ourselves, embracing the challenge and the beauty. Let's bring it back home to us here and now, and to find resilience. What is resilience? Resilience is the ability to bounce back from challenge. And here are some ideas of how to do it. So, to become resilient, you must become a space G. That's how you remember it, a space G. And space, the S of space stands for support. We're social beings. Are there friends that you can talk to, maybe a therapist, to express your truth when you face challenge? So important to not just be isolated. To be lonely is as dangerous as smoking 20 cigarettes a day. We need to be in relationship. Play, such an important concept as well. Putting a smile on. If you want to play with me, try putting a smile on now. It can be fake and can be real, it doesn't matter. It still sends joyful signals through your nervous system. And remembering this spaciousness is that when I put on a smile, if I'm feeling stressed, it's not because I'm saying I shouldn't be stressed. Instead, it's opening up to more spaciousness. Okay, there's stress here and there's a light smile. Both can be there. And then as we open up with that light smile, then we have more spaciousness to navigate the challenge. The A is for air, or to breathe. We've already found the power of the breath. And the breath is such a powerful tool to support you throughout your day, every day. And we'll talk about in the practice session next how you can do that. But would you like to take a couple of breaths with me just to practice how easily you can get the power of the breath? If you'd like to, I invite you to breathe in and to breathe out. Trying one more, breathing in and breathing out. So simple, so powerful. You know, in life, we're doing this, we're breathing in all the time, bringing the stress of the world and other people's stuff and our own stuff. We need to learn how to let it go, to breathe out. C is compassion. Compassion. What is compassion? Compassion is what happens when love meets pain. Compassion is what happens when love meets pain. So you are going to fall over. Human beings fall over. We resist, we hurt. And yeah, we have the intentions to embody everything we've been talking about, but myself included, you know, I fall over. And just to give you one example, you know, I'm still on my way, I'm still on my journey. I got frauded last year and I lost all of my money. And then, yeah, I had a lot of grief and shame around that. And one of the big lessons for me in that was actually to even be compassionate to the resistance. You know, like I'm resisting like all of this grief that's moving through me. I'm resisting the fact that I'm not doing my practice. And can I send some love even to that? Because again, peace is non-resistance, which paradoxically includes the resistance. The moment we accept we're not at peace, then that transforms into peace. Remember this spaciousness. Anxiety can be present in peace. It doesn't exclude it. So compassion is not that we don't fall over. And a way that we can mark our progress on the path is how quickly we notice we've fallen over and how kindly we pick ourselves back up. Two main ways of measuring your progress: how quickly you notice, how kindly you pick yourself back up. Then environment. And excuse the handwriting, I'm a lefty. So environment or nature. For me, when I get out into nature and I get amongst the trees and I find some silence, I find that is a beautiful way to just come back. And when I see the trees and they've been alive for, what, 200 years, it grounds me, helps me just tell myself slow down, things are okay. And then our final, to become a space G, this is how we become resilient, become a space G, is gratitude. Gratitude is that practice that you already know about. Human beings, we have an almost unlimited capacity to take everything for granted. Oh! So choose gratitude every day. Choose something, you know, even if just the sun on your skin, or the fact that you can still breathe, or family or friends, to bring into your awareness that gratitude, because part of our conditioning and our biology is to focus on what's going wrong. And so it's really powerful if we want to be resilient to choose gratitude. So out of your space G, each area of the space G, is there an area that you need to do more of? Having a reflection, pausing the video and making some notes and maybe some commitments over what you can do. Welcome back to our almost final session. I'm going to end this course with a story, which will be the final thing that we do, but we are on to our final session. Well done, well done. I'm so excited that you have made it all the way to here. And this session is about practice. So we talked about at the start, to hurt is to be human, peace equals non-resistance. Practice is the path to peace. Meditation being the training of our awareness to steady and to embrace the present moment. So how do we make meditation an effortless part of our day? Because daily practice is the key. We're talking about an approach to life. We're not just talking about every so often crossing our legs and meditating. But that's not what we're talking about, right? We're talking about how to show up in our lives with that presence and with that embracing of ourselves. How do we make that easy? So daily practice is the key. And I want to share with you the process called the MMA process. We're reconfiguring MMA from fighting to being the weapons of love, the technology of peace. And so MMA is a framework to make it really easy for you to do your practice. And a mantra that I mentioned at the start, and something for you to write down, is don't make your practice so big that you don't do it. Don't make your practice so big that you don't do it. So daily is the key. If you can bring this energy to you daily, it's going to change your life. So how do we make it easy? I want to offer some ideas for you. So our first stage is to move every day, one of our fundamental needs. And one of the ways that I like to move is movement snacks. Have a movement snack. Instead of your movement just being like a big yoga class or walking the dog or gardening, which is all awesome, can you bring morsels of movement throughout the day? Mindful movement. And I've got lots of videos on the YouTube channel sharing Qigong. If you want to do some Qigong with me, one simple way that you can just bring some mindfulness while you move is to move with your breath. So this is one simple move where we breathe in and breathe out. Doing 5 of those once an hour, or doing any movement once an hour, really beautiful. I do a lot of laptop work, and every hour or 30 minutes I get up, I stand, I move. Movement snacks. When you have a tea break, have a chi break. Ha. All right, another way you can bring movement into your day and playful movement is the track snack. So to press play once a day, to put on a tune that you like, and then just have a bit of a boogie. Say what? And I like to, when I wake up in the morning, feeling maybe a bit tired, that's my dance as well. So if peace equals non-resistance, that includes the fact that, okay, I'm a bit stiff, or maybe I'm judging myself. Can I just embrace myself as I am? That energy of embracing that we've talked about. So track snack, press play once a day, that's something that you could commit to. Then to meditate. So to meditate every day, don't make your practice so big that you don't do it. What's the smallest practice you could do? 1 breath, 5 breaths, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever you do, make it daily. Don't make it so big that you don't do it. Then when do you meditate? So first thing in the morning, I notice is grumpy George time. And I know that now about myself. So what I do is I watch my breath. I wake up in the morning and I just watch my breath. And then it takes me about 10, 20 minutes and then I'm out of grumpy George phase and then I'm into enjoying myself. So first thing in the morning, watching your breath, coming to presence, that's your anchor. Then throughout the day, coming to your breath, doing a morsel of mindfulness. Then at the end of the day, when I lie in bed, here's an awesome life hack, is that never stress if you can't sleep, never. Because why do we sleep? To rest the body, to rest the mind. If you're lying in bed and you can't sleep, you're resting the body, great. Now, if you're watching your breath and you're meditating, you're also resting your mind. So you're getting the benefits from sleep. Now, obviously, if you do sleep, great. But if you don't sleep, great. You get to meditate more. It's a win-win either way. So see if you can just let go of that, oh, I'm not sleeping properly. Soften, relax. Beautiful way to bring more effortlessness into your everyday. And then finally, affirm. So we've talked about the power of thoughts, stories that we tell, the beliefs that we have about ourselves can be so powerful to determine what happens in our lives. So the stories of I'm not enough and I'll never be and I'm not worthy of the success that I want in my life or the service I want to achieve versus I'm whole as I am, I'm growing, yes, I'm fallible, but actually I show up because I care. So something I invite you to do is each morning is to affirm your empowering truth. We talked about that exercise earlier, to name your empowering truths and then to speak them out and to move your body with them. And the thing about an embodied mantra is that you're getting your whole body to move. And in that present moment, when I speak out, I am whole, I am joyful, then in that moment it's true, right? I'm bringing that energy. I'm not just saying I'm whole, I'm joyful. You know, it's like, you've got to be in it. And even if you're just pretending for that 1 second, be in that pretending. Because what you're doing is you're training your nervous system, your heart and your mind. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, that's a possibility. I am whole, I am joyful. Then you start to create a momentum in your life where those affirmations can then begin to transform your headspace. So, you know, meditation helps us to observe, to open into spaciousness. The affirmations help us to reprogram and to step into our empowered selves. Now, being a British person, I would see you lovely American humans who can be quite like, affirmation, go! And I would be quite skeptical about it. But I really see the value of affirmations now, because as I said, it's bringing that possibility into your present moment, training our nervous system, but that's possible for us too. So the MMA process: to move, to meditate, to affirm every day. So setting some action plans, pausing the video and having a reflection of what can you commit to from those ideas or from your own to make meditation a part of your everyday. And I'd love to know in the comments what your ideas are for that. And I want to share with you a story as we begin to close our adventure. I also want to share that I'm now holding events around the world. And if you'd like to come learn with me online or in a retreat, I would love to help you embody these practices, because that's really when they transform from just ideas and knowledge into really helping you live your life so that you can unleash your potential for peace and for balance and be part of the movement of people who are contributing to a more awesome world. Congratulations, dear one, for making it to the end of the course. And I'd like to leave you with a story. But before we do, I just want to celebrate you and the practice that you're putting into your life that makes a difference for you and the world. And I'd recommend you going back to the course, and you'll experience it in a different way now. Particularly, I'd like you to look at the potential session again, which is the summary of what we're really doing on the path to peace. I think it might make a bit more sense now. And to end with a story about really what we're here to do, what enlightenment and peace is, which is not just the freedom from all challenge, but instead the ability to hold the challenge with a new energy and lightness. There was a seeker of peace, enlightenment, freedom, happiness, joy called Milarepa. And Milarepa searched high and low, from temples to monasteries, from gurus to masters, to try and find the secrets of enlightenment. But after 10 years, Milarepa gave up. They hadn't found the peace that they wanted, and they decided to go back home. And walking on a mountain path, they saw in the distance an old man carrying a heavy load. There's something about the aura of this man that Milarepa knew this man had a secret. Milarepa called out and said, "Good sir, tell me, what is the secret to enlightenment?" The old man paused for a moment and then with a smile, took off his heavy load and stood up. Milarepa said, "Yes, I see now, I see what enlightenment is. And can you tell me what is after enlightenment?" And with that, the old man picked back up his heavy load, steadied it on his shoulder, and carried on his way.